Coming to you straight from the Rio Grande and beyond, broadcasting to the four corners of the globe. So grab your seat, your coffee, or your sundowner.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
On point, as always. This is Gloves Off. Gloves Off.
Have you ever wondered about what happens in a martial arts studio? Well, you start right away by setting goals, building determination, gaining focus, building skills, all while becoming more fit, gaining confidence, and learning self-defense. Buitron Academy is a school where attitude meets aptitude. So give us a call at 956-401-4868. I'm back at you in Gloves Off. My name's Professor Buitron, for you guys who don't know me. And today I have a great guest. It's Christmas Day. It's Christmas Eve. It's the 24th. And I'm here talking to my brother, Grandmaster Bram Frank, which is a living legend, especially with the knives and with the Filipino martial arts and everything else. And folks, this is Christmas, and we're just going to be touching base on issues that face us. Even though we are learning, we've learned how to fight, we continue learning, we've taught many other people, but there's a lot of issues that come around Christmas that kind of break things apart. Okay, but brother, how are we doing today? And again, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and
thank
you're
you.
all loved, as you know.
Thank you. To all of you watching, I'm still recovering from a lung infection, so if you see me grab my cup of tea and want you to know, it's only because this is for my brother Paul. If this was not for my brother Paul, I wouldn't be talking. But Christmas is important. It's Christmas Eve, and this is one of the first time in generations that Hanukkah goes right up through Christmas. It's actually officially, because the sun's just going down here, day 7 of Hanukkah. Day 8 is the last day of Hanukkah is the first day of Christmas. Hasn't happened in a long, long time. So that's great. But yeah, Christmas, and you're right. You said about we've gotten older, we know how to fight, we've done that kind of stuff. I find that as I approach 70, there's much more compassion in me. And the other parts of what the art is supposed to teach me about being a human being actually matters. I can remember it didn't matter. If I could be the toughest guy on the block, which that's in my head, everybody's the toughest guy on the block, that was okay. I think learning to impart knowledge and be a good human being has really come to the forefront. And as a legacy, what can I take from, and I know you do it, what do I have in me to share with others? And so many people are dishonest these days and disrespectful. I think it's made me want to be more honest and more respectful in what I do.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, and I see that, here, and I see that, and I've always seen it, and within the martial arts, I was taught by many greats. I've been influenced by many, just like yourself, and influenced me in teaching better, learning, understanding, being a little bit more skillful. There's a lot of things that come with it. We always have to learn. We always have to continue learning. Yeah. And that's something that the martial arts brings into us. I am the first person, even though I grew up with Sipota, the Savat, I have done other things. I was involved with Aikijitsu. I was involved with Aiki. I was involved with Kempo to the day. We still teach it. Capoeira. A lot of people know me because we did capoeira, still do it. One thing that I learned was you always have to keep on learning. Yes. And there's no such thing as this is the best, this is the way it is, it's my system's the best. All that thing really comes irrelevant when it's time to fight.
Yeah.
And I see it with a lot of people, and I'll talk about this in a little bit. You train in the martial arts and in the true schools. those are the guys that you're there every day. You know, you're striking each other, you're working out with each other. You guys become a little bit more than friends. I know guys when we're part of INSEP, which is a French team in France, and I was there for 3 years. Those guys are still like my brothers. Like you are my brothers. They're people that even though we don't live close to each other, we're not related by blood, but we're considered more brothers. We'll stand up for one another for a while. What was that? Because we gave our passion, our blood,
soul, yeah.
and our soul to the systems that we were doing, and we believe that. And many of us pass it on, continue to this day passing those traditions on. Others have stopped, but we don't lose that fellowship. Okay, and you can see that with true schools, true lineages. You see that embracement of that.
Yeah. And it's towards the older I've gotten, the more I appreciate the people who you said have become family to me, and real family. You and I do it all the time. As soon as we talk, it's like yesterday, like a regular family member. It's not like, oh, look at all that space between it. Whenever we talk, you're such a part of my life. And some of those guys, and I was just surprised that Odessa Ramos. Odessa came in from Iraq. She's with her sister in Chicago, flew in today, said, can I come see you? She just booked her flight. She's going to come flying the 27th, spend, 2 full days here on the 30th, fly back to Chicago so she can spend New Year's there and then fly back with her son, to Europe and to Iraq. And, whenever I talk to Odessa's been part of my life for almost 30 years. And, whenever I talk to her, it's like yesterday. And one of the things I think you sometimes forget about yourself. I know how much you've trained. You have a great appreciation for what I call classical sword and dagger. You have an appreciation for classical, what I would call Italian, Hispanic, Mexican use of like sacatripas, a small tool that people would laugh at. And I go, you don't understand. There's an elegance to what you do. And you casually go, I did Kempo. You have the soul of Kempo. You were with some great people, some great Arnis people along the way, on top of everything you do, because I always tell people, do you know Savat? I said, no, you don't. If you don't know Professor Paul, if you don't, he and his family helped pioneer what real Savat is. Everything from boxing Francais, the sport part, to he does the part that's not sport. So you've added, to my depth of what we do, besides adding something I've always needed. Would you talk camaraderie and the fact that you're as close to me as a brother, as a my brother could have been. If any of you don't get it, this man here, who you casually accept on gloves off, has treated me as a guardian angel, as a family member. He cares for me, looks out for me. And I think that's missing in a lot of martial arts today. People take it just to learn to be tough, sort of the sport attitude. And it's not even like sport teams where they count on each other. A lot of these people, and I see it in their posts, they're the bestest, fastest, most deadly, whatever, without any concern to how they're doing it, how they interrelate with other people. And you and I both know, whether we like it or not, society imposes rules on us. And if you break those rules, even in the name of being a good guy, you're going to be in trouble.
Absolutely.
People, we got to play within the rules. And so my martial art gets modified. Now, I've always been the wimp of the knife world, but my approach to what I can do and teach is, because I don't want to defend myself or have my students defend themselves. And the criminal action goes away, but they end up in jail because of excessive force, civil liabilities, or whatever. People go, that doesn't matter. I go, I don't want to live in a jail cell. I don't think, it's better to be judged by 12 rather than carried by 6. And I go, you don't get that. I want to have a third option. I don't want to be dead, and I don't want to be in a trial. The last thing I want is a trial. I'd like to go home. So some of that I think is missing too, within the martial art, that I think, and I see lots of people, and you'll get this, a lot of this draw point, how fast can I get the tool out and poke their eyes out and slip? And I won't say, I just invited 2 seminars, very sweet people. I haven't seen them for a couple decades. And I watched them. Everything they did was not only eyes, but cut throats, sever spinal cords, disembowel people. And I went to the head instructor and said, you do tell your instructors like they have to have a caveat, a warning going, this is traditional, don't do this on the street. And he just looked at her and said, oh no, we can do this on the street. I said, okay, bad English. I'll be a grammar Nazi. You're right. You can do it, but you may not. Oh yeah. Yeah. Bad guy comes, that's what we're going to do. And I went, what good does it do to defeat the bad guy, to go live in jail or maybe go to jail and lose everything you have? That's not a win. So I don't know,
Correct. There has to be some limitations, and that those limitations come within understanding of, it's not, how can I say, it's not moral. We have to understand that we have to leave our egos behind sometime.
Yeah.
And yes, I understand about being the toughest guy, and I understand about who wants this. I mean, we've all been through that. We've walked that line. We haven't stepped back from it. There's a lot of haters and naysayers out there, which to me, I've just thrown them to the side way long ago, unless they confront us in face to face, and we can deal with them. But what I see, my brother, is the martial arts has changed. We lost a lot of great schools during the pandemic.
Yes, that all
A lot of
brother
schools-
Paul, and the fact that the pandemic turns out more and more of the people they censored or blocked turned out everything they told us was true. And I don't want to delve too much, but to see Pfizer and Moderna, GlaxoSmithKline, and the rest starting in Europe under oath, admitting that it was gene recumbent, that it was never meant to prevent transmission, it was never meant to prevent you from getting the disease, and that these leaders are suing the president of EU, all these different countries, going, you accepted billions of dollars in lies. So as you were saying, we suffered because it would have been better if we all just had herd immunity and got it like the flu, and whoever lives. Who get real sick, we do our best to treat them. But isolating us, we lost, you and I lost tremendous people. And I know a lot of people probably don't know Kalindia Yi, and he's sometimes, to some people who have heard of him, but that was Tamarian martial arts. He did African martial arts. He had trained with Remy. He'd spent time with Danny, inside Kung Fu. And I just happen to personally like him. I liked his dance motion, whatever. He and his 3 top black belts all got COVID, or whatever they called COVID, and all died in the same weekend. And I'm like, if they had been out being exposed to the anyways, yes, you're right. I won't get into it. COVID took away our time, our schools, and some very great members.
Absolutely. And so when that passed through, a lot of small businesses were bullied into submission. I mean, they were bullied straight into submission. You couldn't do this, you couldn't do that, you couldn't.
Well, you weren't allowed to be open. I wasn't allowed to go. I couldn't go. All the departments said training is stopped. You can't touch people. You can't breathe on. What do you mean I can't go teach up? What do you mean I can't go teach? And closing health clubs, except for that. I don't remember what state is. The guy who fought them eventually won to keep his health club. I mean, but it cost him a fortune. But yes, Brother Paul, it was a type of war that we weren't trained for in martial arts. They negated us at every angle.
We were very much trained for it. And you know what it was? We've always been trained to go up against the bully. You see, martial artists, or true martial artists that have been around there, the vast majority have gone into martial arts because of bullying at one particular time in their life.
Yeah.
And this happened by bullying from social media networks. This was bullying from the government. This was bullying from the peace officers that we stand up for. This was bullying from our own family that were dramatic.
All I meant is it was a type of bullying that was very hard to combat as an individual. Maybe if we as martial artists, as a whole group, went against a whole group, but to find out that the governments were against us, we were already starting several points back. It's like,
yeah. So what happens now? I think you went to you went to 21 kind of in a phase. Everybody kind of went through it, and everybody, we were rocked inside the ring, if you want me to put it that way. We went through this one, we were rocked. We came out of our rest round. We're in there, not cautious. We're very, how can I say, alert and elusive of everything that's going on. And now we went to the following round to catch ourselves back up. In 2020 taught us one. You know what it taught me? It said we have to protect our own. We have not only our communities, our families, our brothers that are out there, our martial arts brothers. Hey, how are you doing? Do we need to help you? Do we need to help that? That type of commitment between everybody else. The small businesses have to stick up to each other. And I think it's time now. I'm not trying to say this, but I think the lies already caught up to the bully, because you have to understand that there's two things bullies hate. Bullies hate the truth.
Yeah.
And bullies hate when that one person stands up and all of us says it's not today.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to see that in 2023 when people are going to start saying, wait a minute, ain't going to happen.
I think they are already. All over the world, people are going, you're not going to bully us. You're not going to tell me what to think, what to believe. And when you say follow science, we're going to follow the real sweet science, because science evolves every day. We're not going to believe your propaganda. I have to, for me, the only way I can get my knives and be out there is I use Facebook and Instagram and, the regular website. When they decide they can block me and shut me down, and I'm on a restriction again of who can see me, I realize they have a type of control, and I can't fight them right now. So I have to learn to fight around them, because that's good martial arts. I can't, I'm a water sign. I cannot beat my head against that rock. I have to sort of slide around it. And I've tried to find a spot. And of course, I have brothers like you and other friends who share and try to help me out. We all, as you said, help each other out, because we're learning a new game. But I think you're right. 2023, I think enough people have drawn a line in the sand. Everything from other government officials and in other parts of life, including martial arts, went, we're done listening to this. We have a life to live. And I've been, when I told you about Ed Frawley and Tom Gallo, and I got them, they started training with me. Every once in a while, and I mentioned them because they've been really bonded. And I was referring to them as Thing 1 and Thing 2. Because they really took to me, and they love beating on each other. And you guys in camera, just hold on for 2 seconds. You should have been prepared. Ed's wife is a seamstress, and she knew, because private, I called them Crimp 1 and Crimp 2. She actually made a Crimped 1 and Crimp 2 for me to have. And Tom Gallo actually plays saxophone, so they sit there, and he's got a little saxophone. So I went, because they're my crimp guys, and they really believe it. So what I found that, and the reason I bring it up is, without COVID, I probably wouldn't have spent as much time on Zoom with them, but I Zoom with them, once a week and do an hour, 2-hour class. And there's a few people like Kwaku James is always here. Well, he and Dave Giddings, because of COVID, went, sir, we don't care. We have to come take care of you. Well, they'd come here and do videos with me. And of course, my other persona, the cyborg T13 Bram, came out. And I found something else you and I used to talk about. The fool can say what he wants. The court jester, the king doesn't kill them. So T13, when my other persona comes out, and I'm T13, and I found I can't put the mat. You saw the Christmas Bram, even without the mask, I couldn't stop being T13. My T13 voice came out. But I found I can say things that were driving me nuts, and people go, "Oh, that's not really Bram. That's the court jester. That's the fool. That's the cyborg." The power of that. Because Doug Marcaida started following, because I was doing my morning cafe cubano, so he's doing his morning coffee, and then he started, because I was being crazy, he started attacking, Bob, and doing all sorts of stuff, and we found a way to express our dissatisfaction and our love where people couldn't directly attack us. As you said, COVID, I found a way to get closer to some of my students that I probably couldn't have, even though we weren't in person, I was doing this with them because you helped open up Zoom for me. So, first couple gloves off, and I went, boy, that's a really cool thing. It reminded me teaching in Skype. So yeah, I learned a lot of other things, other martial skills because of the pandemic that I normally wouldn't have used.
Absolutely. And I tell folks this, Zoom became a tool that we can use, but we have to also be in person. You also have to come learn in person because you're not going to learn anything straightforward from a video and from YouTube. You can try mimicking it and claiming it your own. But you're not.
It gives you a foundation of understanding. And what happened was all those guys I've met on Zoom have made it out to my birthday bash, or even when we weren't supposed to travel, would come meet me going, hey, I really liked doing that. And now when we cross hands or do something, I didn't have to explain this is step one. And as you said, they could mimic the motions, and then we can go over the why. What happens when we feel the energy? Because feeling energy is important in the spacing. And so I think some of us have flourished. I don't know if you've seen Dan Anderson, Mish, who takes care of both of us. He's got Dan with a QR code now. So when you go to Dan's book, it's on a QR code, and you see the step-by-step pictures. You scan the code, and a video comes up on your phone of what you just read, and you get to watch him act it out.
That's
good.
That,
for the people in other countries who couldn't travel, Ray Galong's a good example that Ray's been having, and Roger Abulos, of course, brother Roger, been doing all sorts of Zoom stuff just so people can follow what they're doing. And of course, we're all meeting up on the sides and stuff. But it's
So coming back to the days of Christmas, a lot of guys out there, and believe me, I've been there. Christmas is a time that all the emotions come out, all the emotions flare up. People that we love that aren't around, they're we start seeing it, we start feeling it, we start hurting. So folks, I'm going to ask you guys out there, do a buddy check. Call your friend up. Call that one guy that you haven't heard for about a week, 2 weeks. Check them up. Check up on everybody. On just pop them a text and say, hey, how we doing? Merry Christmas. Got time? Check them out, because right now there's a lot of, especially with this winter storm that's going on, there's a lot of people that might have the funds to pay their electric bill, might not have their funds to have a nice meal. Help each other out, and I think that's what we have to do. That, and I think we have to start coming back to that fellowship, that American way of extending the hand to another.
Well, I agree. My students have been coming over, as to make sure I have money to eat or do stuff. And the only thing I really have left to play with is I have some products. So when Dean Franco, has been running the raffles, and a couple other people, Jesse Santiago, the June and Paul show, like I send you knives and go, here, play. I love you. Take these. I've been donating because, and I have to laugh because sometimes the amount of money they earn isn't even what my donations would be. The value is not, but the money that came from other people. My tools are in their hands, and the money's going to the grandmasters and children who need it. And, we do that at the Remy Presas Foundation Hall of Flame. And people go, well, you mean fame? I said, no, Michael wanted like the eternal flame. It's the Remy's flame we keep alive. And the Smoky Mountain group, the Smoky Mountain in the Philippines are the mountains of garbage that are smoking. And the kids dig leftover food out of them or whatever. And so we donate to their fund so that they get clothing, equipment for school and food. And so as we were doing, I said, it behooves me to do what you said, to check and to send that stuff out. And I know I want you to know, all of you listening, Professor Paul's always checking on me, always. And I appreciate that, because you never know these days.
Absolutely. Folks, if you guys want a hellacious blade that you want to carry, I carry one. I'm going to ask Bram to go ahead and show a couple of his knives. The Bowie for me is the one I carry the most. That,
This one, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And it's modeled off of a Ramble One Bowie, because I like that. Of course, you're from Texas, you like it, but they're hand ground, hand assembled. For all of you who are law enforcement security, just shooters, it's a firearms carry. And I'm a big believer in. I own the patent on indexing, my post in a hole indexing, and my flat spoon clip with it, so that you can go from forward to reverse grip without taking your hand off the tool. And of course, my tools, as Brother Paul was saying, I don't make fighting knives. He carries it every day. I make EDC tools. They're edged tools, and you can hammer with it. Then I'll use my opposing digit. You can grab something with it. You can rake with it. You can pinch with it. You can scrape with it. You can rub with it. Of course, if I can reach out and touch you, I own the patent on kinetic opening. It'll open forward or reverse, doesn't matter. And we can do, especially for those of us who might maintain contact, we can do friction opening, that it stays right there. And of course, Brother Paul's got one. For all of you who are shooters, I'm considered the father of the training drone, because I can't believe there were no training drones before I started making them back with Recat and Spyderco. Just like a red gun, it's a safe red trainer, because a lot of times we need to practice. And even if you're just teaching knife etiquette, you don't want to be handing around a live blade and trying to get people to figure out how does a lock work, how to get my fingers out of the way. Even for teaching just normal knife use, safe trainer. And then the last thing was, because I'm a big believer, we were talking about use of force. When I first came out with the crimped in 94, 95, I did it with Recat, people didn't get it. And then I did it with Spyderco. It took me many years after that. It took me almost 12 years after that to get this version that's legally an impact rescue tool. And in today's world, we talk about, this is like putting a pocket stick in your hand. No problem. All the things you do, except we can, break out side glass, windshield and side glass. We can cut seat belts. It can't cut a human being's parts. The teeth on it can't cut skin, but they grab fabric. Because again, playing again with the rules they left us, that my tools allow. And of course, everybody's identical in actual shape and size. And Brother Paul likes my knives. He's my best advertiser around, because he actually uses it when he hunts, when he does stuff. But I wanted a tool that we could carry daily, and I made it for law enforcement security, that we don't have to kill the guy. And there's no way something happens, we can just give people an attitude adjustment and make it work. And all my tools, and that's why I was talking about irresponsible. How fast can I get it open and poke your eyes out and slit your throat and pass you and disembowel you, do whatever? Well, as you know, because you've let me, I just come up, you come up and I give you a little, shouldn't have done that, attitude adjustment. Anyways, that was my beat.
You're correct. There's way too many people out there that are teaching. Listen, folks, YouTube is great for historical purposes. It's great for documentaries. It's great for folks, the citizen journalists. It's great for keeping historical value for systems, seeing old teachers, how they used to move, how they used to train. All that is beautiful in all the content that's there. And I know that there's a lot of martial arts schools that teach their curriculum through there. That is wonderful, because that is a beautiful way to get things out. Whether it's weightlifting, bodybuilding, powerlifting, CrossFit, Savat, Screama, Silat, you name it. YouTube is a hellacious tool, because you can even learn soft skills through YouTube. So but don't believe everything that's on YouTube as well. And as it is, there's a lot of people out there, and I hate to say this because everybody's trying to make a living, and some of these guys out there, they might have not known that their teacher might have been off in the head, but they just learned it because they gave them all the confidence they have, and that's all they have, and they're proponing it to everybody else, and they're teaching it, which is fine and dandy. There's different styles, there's different cultures, there's different blades. All that's been going around since Sumatra. And it's gone from them to the Egyptians, to the Hittites, to the Romans, from the Greeks to the Romans. we're finding out that a lot of the Indian martial arts are actually Greek, and they'll tell you that they came from Alexander's.
And people don't get that.
And people are like, really? No, they're telling you that it's coming from that. How was the importance? Imagine how many martial arts have been lost. So martial arts and cultures and villages have always had different systems. And guess what? There's different nations and there's different other soldiers and armies that conquered the different villages. It's going to happen again. So martial arts, if you feel fine with what you're training and the time comes for you to prove it in the street and that's what you have, that's all you're going to have. And if that suffices to you and it doesn't come out ahead in the long run, that is not the problem of the world. That's your problem for your choice in picking that, right? But again, what I'm trying to get at is there's a lot of stuff out there that is useful, and there's a lot of stuff out there that is not so useful. So you all have to pick and choose.
Then you're right. YouTube/social media, the one thing it has done is open up a whole library of stuff for people to see. And good or bad, they get to compare it. And obviously, if you have no baseline, you accept generally what you see. And I think that's something also that came out that was mostly good from COVID and YouTube and social media of martial arts is most people, I mean, there's a few knotheads on there. Most people are willing to have a discourse about it and not go, what I do is the only way. Of course, like I said, there's the knotheads who go, all of you are crazy. Nothing works but what I do. And of course, whatever they show is structured to show that. I think it's opened the eyes of a lot of people to go, oh, I used to talk about official karate did it. People go, what do you mean? I said they pick one attack, even though it's sort of out of context, and they'd have 5 different people of 5 different styles go, how would you approach this? And granted, it was single stop frame pictures, but it was cool because they didn't want to say one was better than the other. They just wanted to show a myriad of experiences of ways of, and when the guys actually got hands-on in the pictures, a lot of times you can't tell where they came from because they end up being very close to each other. What was important was their approach to get there. I'm like, and I think that feel at least has come back out. People are willing to look and research. And I think more people are willing in today's world that if they do what you said, they're not happy with what they want and they see someone like you, they'll go, Professor Paul, I saw what you're doing, or I heard Bram talk about you. I'd like to come try that, regardless of what they already know. And I think that's a good part. And I think people forget what you and I always, the old guys talk about, that there's the art form. And I don't care which end of the spectrum the art form is on, what I call traditional art form. There's a beauty in it no matter where it came from. There's sport. And I don't care which end of the spectrum of the use of that martial art for sport is on. It has its own beauty. And then there's combatives. And again, I don't care which end of the spectrum you go on. I said, look, we have these 3 basic phases. They all have something in common. In real, they don't exist in other venues. And I'm not saying one is better. You can't take combative arts and use them in a sport situation or a traditional. It just doesn't work. You can't take a sport situation, make it work in combatives or traditional. And the traditional art does not, you can't take it and put it in sport or combat. And I don't mean the occasional something's common, but overall, there are 3 beautiful phases unto themselves. And whatever you pick, be happy that you picked it and understand that if you'd like to move beyond that, there's other stuff to learn and you can, adjust how you do it. And there's nothing wrong with picking any one of those phases and putting your energy to it. Because I would rather have brothers and sisters in martial arts who at least do martial arts. And I've also talked about what happens if the guys come from an instructor who really wasn't any good. Well, when we look at that person, they might be really good at doing a bad martial art. They might not be a really competent person doing a bad martial art, or they might not be any good and the guy was never any good, or whoever they learned it from, or, any any one of those extremes. So I look at me and go, well, I watched him, he's no good. And I said, well, you know what? It might be that person, male or female. Pardon my I'm not good at this pronoun stuff, so I go male or female. So any of you take offense to that, too bad. They, whatever they've done is good. People go, you know, they're rotten. I said, well, no. They might be doing the best they can to do whatever they were taught. And all it takes is to go, hey, I'd like to share something else with you. Not what you do sucks. And, you know, it's like also watch someone, you may not know what handicaps they have. Oh, he sucks or she sucks at doing that. Well, what if that person's really handicapped and they're really doing a stupendous job, even if it comes from a sucky martial art? You know, that they're doing the best they can. As a matter of fact, they might be doing better than I would do in their circumstances. Eric Harris, I love Eric. You know, everything has gotten to him. He's had some limited people go, you're so supportive of him. I said, that man never stops training. You know, he never stops. And, you know, I keep feeding him different tools, going, here, try this, see if it works with their hands. Can you hold it, do whatever? You go, what's he doing? I said, well, he does better than a lot of you guys because he actually visualizes the bad guy from his wheelchair, what they'd be doing, what angle they'd be coming, and what he would need to do for himself in that wheelchair to defeat the bad guy. And I watch people who they do the motion and there's no spirit or heart between what they do. Not that it's not a beautiful art. They got that motion. It could be anybody in front of them.
Sure.
They can't smell the opponent. They don't lose when they do a form or something. For me, a form I actually lose to the bad guy at times. I used to use it to feel it. But I watch people like Eric, and I've got a few friends who are in wheelchairs, and they have issues with their hands, and they're dedicated. Oh my God, are they dedicated? And you know, so
you know, it goes back to that. You know, the passion is there, but folks, this year, I believe that our 23 is going to be the year that people are going to be standing up to people that were bullying others, were lying, that got out of hand during 2020, 21, and 22. So I think it's going to change it in a different format. And I think that those that are, you know, like the old saying, birds of a feather flock together. Those that train in reality sense are going to be hanging around with the others that train in reality sense. And I think that's just where it's going to be. It doesn't mean that, you know, you cannot say hi to anybody else. It just means that I think that's where this thing is going.
Well, yeah.
And
a lot of the world itself is changing and going to force us to make some decisions about who we see, how we defend our liberties.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I'm a big constitutional republic and a constitution defender. I mean, I swore to defend our constitutional republic, our flag, and the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. People go, you didn't take that seriously. I said, I've always taken it seriously.
Absolutely.
There's nothing more important to me than our Declaration of Independence, because that's set down. We will not be a servant of anybody else. Nobody's better than us. And the whole statement. I believe in our constitutional republic. We're not a democracy. I hate mob rule. And I believe in our Bill of Rights, because those rights allow us to be free, because God gave us those rights, or whatever inalienable force you want to call it, that no government, no society, no people can take those rights away. The government does not grant us rights. We tell the government what to do. We, the people. That's why the United States is so unique and our Constitution is so unique. And I believe that martial arts are a way, as my grandparents who lived through World War II and the earlier, you know, the pogroms in parts of Russia, you know, against them, and then they get through the Holocaust, you know, they taught me never again. I understand how important freedom is. And for all of you who appreciate Christmas, please understand, Hanukkah is a celebration. It's become the celebration of lights because when the Romans controlled during the Josephus period, it wasn't okay to say we're celebrating a holiday that celebrates military success. But in real, Hanukkah is about we defeated the Syrians and the Macedonians, and the Jewish people were free after bunches of years of them telling us what religion we had to be, what we had to do. And we went no more, which are the Maccabees. And later on, granted, it's this whole thing about the oil, instead of lasting 1 day, lasting 8, celebration of lights. But that became more the focus of the way, just because the Romans didn't want people talking about revolution and being free, even though they were free under the Roman Empire. But that's what we're doing here. What people are finally, the government this, the government that. I don't care government where. Most governments suck. A lot of the people in those countries are wonderful, and bunches of them. I'm sure you've seen the people in China are standing up. The people in Russia on their own are standing up in lots of places. Afghanistan, Iran, the women who could be mowed down they don't have any, they're standing up going, no more.
That's what I'm saying. And that's what's going to happen. So again, I'm glad that martial arts did not die off. It wouldn't have died off, but like I said, a lot of schools didn't make it.
Yeah.
New schools that are coming up. I don't think a lot of these new schools that are coming up have the know-how of what occurred before. So it's just, but they're still out there. So at least they're helping out. But to all the martial artists out there, all the small business owners out there, keep your head up. You guys are the backbones of a lot of communities, and I'm going to tell you why. You guys help out everybody. And in martial arts schools, you have to have your head up as well, because we get a lot of kids, a lot of people come in with us with fear from bullies, fear from what have you. And through the martial arts schools throughout the nation, that fear has been turned into self-confidence, self-esteem, self-respect, discipline, and onward.
Yeah, and respect for honor and respect for the individual rights. Martial arts is about, as Jun Rhee used to say it, and I used to laugh when I was a kid first with Jun Rhee, about might for right. And I know what he meant. That, the Spider-Man thing, with great power comes great responsibility. That it's our job to support the weak. It's our job to teach the others. It's our job to be, I know it's politically incorrect, to be the white knights of the round table.
Absolutely.
We're supposed to, and it's our job to teach the students under us respect for their elders, respect for history, but respect for the truth and respect for honor.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All that's important. And, and as you said, the holidays bring it out because there's an emotional content. My grandfather was a good old-fashioned Jewish guy, and he came from Russia, and he became a chemist, for our government, for World War I. And for being a scientist, a chemist, he went on later on, when the war's over, to become a dental surgeon. And my grandfather, and my great-great-grandfather from the other side, was Rabbi Bram Frank. I come from a very Jewish family. My grandfather set the tone because he loved Christmas. Someone said, "How could you do that?" He goes, "Well, I have lots of Christian friends, but I love the idea of the giving." And he made us have a Hanukkah bush back then, because that's what they called it, so just a small Christmas tree. We had a Christmas tree and a Hanukkah bush, and he loved Christmas, and he loved giving gifts. And he goes, "People share." You go, "Well, but that's what it's about. It's got to be about sharing."
Absolutely.
And all the people want to get rid of, don't say Merry Christmas. We want to get rid of Christmas, get Thanksgiving, my favorite holiday. I love to share. I was a farmer. Brother Paul, it's like in November, I had to make sure my wood was already cut and stacked for the winter. The animals, the ones that were being slaughtered, were already done and in the freezer and ready for the winter. The ones that were not being slaughtered had their winterized small barn. And you gave thanks for what you had, because the winter could be long and cold. And I appreciate that. And you shared with your neighbors, and knowing that if they ran out of food or didn't have enough wood, I live on top of the mountains of Vermont. We shared with each other. But for people to say we need to stop these holidays and stop this idiocy of sharing with each other, those people should be ashamed of themselves.
Absolutely.
I don't want to hear you say Merry Christmas. Okay, well, it's America. Get your panties twisted. Too bad. I say Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and I've come to accept that Kwanzaa is a holiday. So we tell people Happy Kwanzaa. I want to, I love sharing holidays or whatever. The people who want to be so PC that we can't say that. We're not able to say we're going to defend ourselves. Screw all of you. We have the,
Absolutely.
I'm still Mr. Nice Guy, but I'm learning to be, I'm getting some of the old Bram back of, either accept what I do or just move away because I'm not going to change me to please them.
You're right. I've been the same all the time. I've been the same, I guess, since I been around, since I've been teaching. It just changed a little bit here and there, but nothing too.
No, that's what I love. From the whole time I've known you, Brother Paul has always been Brother Paul, and the professor part of you has always been the same. You are very consistent. That's because, again, it comes from your heart. So those of us who understand heart, that's why we're brothers.
Absolutely. Well, once more, hugs. Great Christmas to you and folks out there. Remember, call that family member, call that friend that you haven't heard about. Pick up the phone. Let's be nice to one another. That's all.
And if you guys want to, by the way, help another little brother and help yourselves, I decided I have 20% off everything on my website for the whole month. So if you have Hanukkah Geld, that's Hanukkah money. If you get early Christmas money, you do the 12 days of Christmas, you got extra money, you got Christmas money, you got Kwanzaa money. Have I got a present? Brother Paul will tell you. Go to www.cssd-sc.com and get yourself a present, a tool that will help you out.
Absolutely.
Because that will also help me out because I got to support my family in the Philippines.
Believe me, best knives you can carry, and I carry one with me all the time. And not only for self-defense, but for all kinds of things, because I'm using it as a tool, because that's what it is. Remember, blades, knives are tools. My weapons that were given to me by the Almighty were my hands, my feet, my brain.
Absolutely.
And everything else that comes in is just a tool for what I have to be using, what obstacle I have to clear. And that's
and work we have to accomplish. And there's a lot of edge whatever they are out there that are not tools. I make, as you know, edge tools. So I appreciate that you use it. Rocky Pasco goes, Bram, I use it every day on my farm. My kids use theirs on the farm every day. And I said, exactly. People, he's not using it as a fighting knife. I don't make fighting knives. I make edge tools. So if you like a great edge tool, look me up and Professor Paul will tell you where to get me. But
absolutely. The next time, much peace. Merry Christmas. Right now is a time for you to ponder and kind of, if there's something wrong and you're trying to figure out what's going on for next year, the new me, new you, the new attitude, the new goal, believe me, every January, within the first 2 weeks, I get about 15 to 20 people that join the school. And probably in February, you see 2 of them back. Why? Because they do not know what they want. Think about what you want, set a goal. I don't care if it's basket weaving, tiddlywinks, playing domino. Get the goal out there and go for it. Because I'm going to tell you what kills dreams. And remember, dreams turn into goals, goals turn into reality. You know what kills dreams? Fear.
Yeah.
And if you have fear,
panic. Don't panic.
Go for it. Do it.
Go for it. I agree. 100% go for it. Anyways, thank you. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy everything to everyone. And again, if you're in the area with Professor Paul, definitely go train with him. An amazing person. He doesn't pay me to say that. I happen to love him dearly, and I love being at his school. Yes, I've been at his school a bunch of times. Anyways, my love to all of you. Thank you for checking on me. And it's Christmas Eve. So, it's actually morning in the Philippines, for any of you who don't know, because I'm at a 12-hour time difference. So it's officially Christmas. So they called me Christmas Eve because they're Catholic. They were all at the church. So I have to start another 15 minutes of calling them to wish them all officially Merry Christmas, because it's officially Christmas for them already. Anyways, my love to you, Brother Paul. Thank you for everything. And
safe. Stay
I'll
safe,
talk
brother.
to you later. Okay,
Happy Hanukkah. And
Thank you.
we'll
We'll talk shortly. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.